And hello again. I'm Casey VanPutten, certified EFT practitioner. I'm here with Alisa Kaczorowski, who's going to share some information about how she taps and how she uses it with her children. And then also she's going to share some information about creating a calm corner in your home. So take it away, Alisa.
All right, so let's talk about calm down corners. So gosh, we have really, this is something that we started when I was a school administrator, and every single one of our classrooms and offices had one of these. And as a parent myself of 3 kids who are now home with me all the time, I thought, these are just as useful and beneficial at home as they are in classrooms. And so we've created one here, and I think they can be really, really effective for a lot of different reasons. So I'll start off, I'll just tell you what a calm down corner is. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's basically an area in your house, a corner, a desk, a table, a chair, anywhere you can fit it in, really. Where your kids, yourself, your spouse, anybody in your house.
That's what I asked Alisa before. I'm like, can moms use the calm corner?
Yes, yes you can. Where anybody in your house can go, when they're escalated for whatever reason. So it may be that, one of your kids is angry about something, but it may just be that, virtual school, sometimes, thinking about my 6-year-old, it can just get to her sometimes, and it gets to be a lot, and trying to navigate everything technology wise, sort of like what we were just trying to do.
Yes.
And not seeing her friends, sometimes it just gets overwhelming for her, and she gets just sad. And so we have a setup in our house, and I will post pictures later. I'm currently in a different space. Otherwise, I would show you. But I have lots of pictures that I'll show you in some of the tools. And it's just a small little desk in the kids' playroom, and it has lots of things nearby that they have access to. If they want to use different tools, so there's stuff for coloring or journaling. There are Legos nearby, puzzles nearby, so things to kind of occupy their mind, get their mind off of whatever it is that was causing them anxiety or worry or whatever. Let's see, I did pull this. My essential oil diffuser. We have this right there and that they can turn on. And then just a lot of sensory tools that they can use. My kids are big into sensory tools. And what I mean by that.
Yeah, what's a sensory tool?
Yeah,
Share with that.
I have a whole bin of them that I use for my business that are like the good ones. So they try to steal them from me all the time. So, but they have, we keep a bunch of their own also in that same area. So things like, this is Aaron's thinking putty, any putty, slime, anything that they can just manipulate with their hands. I know particularly one of my kiddos, my oldest, he is very tactile and just focuses better when he has something going on in his hands.
My son uses a Rubik's Cube.
Yes, we have several of those. Yes. So things like that. We've got little tools like this. It's a marble inside. I know that's a little bit hard to see. And so you can kind of just have it in your hand and push the marble from side to side. Most of these are like nothing like spectacular. They're just things to give their, hands something to do.
Busy hands are happy hands, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and most of these, a lot of teachers, use these, and they're not things that are, going to really cause a lot of disruption. They just kind of sit here and do it, and nobody even notices. Other ones are like wiki sticks are great. Obviously, like stress balls.
Would you be willing to post a couple of these in the comments below so people can these are like amazing stocking stuffers, I think. I'm like, bam, stocking stuffer for my son.
And if you get on Amazon, you can go bonkers crazy if you type in sensory tools.
I've been going bonkers crazy.
And then it'll just pop up like 6,000 other suggestions for you, and you can just add them all to your cart. That's what I do at my house. My kids like the visual timer that has like the little colors, and it's even Christmas colors. Look at that. They say that this is very satisfying. That's their new favorite word. So
My kids say that too. So funny.
I don't know where they came up with that. They're like, oh, it's so satisfying.
I think it's a YouTube thing. Like they have like these videos of all things. They're like satisfying. Like it's
Yeah.
like, that's very satisfying.
It probably is. They love that word. So just simple things like these are great. These are occupational therapy tools, and so they're actually hand strengtheners, but they're really great, you know, if you're feeling angry or you just need to like clench and release some of those muscle groups. So we just keep a bunch of these at the area where, you know, my kids have their desk for their calm down corner. Let's see, I'm trying to think of what else we keep there. We have a kind of a big comfy chair at the desk also. So it's kind of a fun, like, I don't even know what they're called. I'll post a picture of it. Kind of like a bouncy, flexible seating sort of chair. The thing I think is super important to remember with calm down corners is that it's not a timeout space. So it's not a place that you want to send your kids to because they're in trouble. You can certainly encourage them to use it, but the goal, and maybe you're not going to be ready for this right out of the gate, but the goal is for kids to kind of recognize that they need that time and space and utilize it on their own, make the decision on their own to go there. We certainly encourage it at our house.
Yeah, and just that piece is huge, like knowing I feel triggered right now. I mean, I teach that to moms, like we aren't even aware, like my body is feeling something right now. I feel tightness in my chest, or, you know, I feel overwhelmed or anxious, labeling that feeling, recognizing it, and now I need to do something.
Right. And that's hard for kids. I mean, it's hard for adults, right? We can all relate to that, I'm sure.
Yes.
I know we've been working on that, it seems like, for years in my house, and some days it goes well and other days it does not go well. So, I mean, there are certainly times that I encourage them, like, hey, remember that space that we have? Maybe this would be a good time for you to go use it. But
do you know, find that they go there on their own then often, or?
They're getting better about it as it becomes more like part of our environment. One kid more so than the other one, and I do have a third kid, but he's 3. So, you know.
How old are your other ones?
They're 3, 6, and 9.
Okay.
Yeah. So my 6 and 9-year-old understand it. They know how to use it, and the 3-year-old to a certain extent, but he certainly isn't, you know, going there on his own. So one kid definitely more than the other will recognize, oh, I should probably go and like do this. She's also my kid that recognizes when she needs space more than the other one. So, you know, feel free to encourage them, like, hey, would it help you right now to go, you know, sit in the calm down corner space, desk, whatever you call it, and draw a picture, or, you know, listen to music that works for some. I think another key is knowing what works for your kids and what doesn't. And that's a lot of trial and error. And so, you know, if you asked me to go listen to music to calm down, like that's not me. If you ask me to journal or draw, like those things are not going to calm me down. They're just going to probably keep me escalated. It doesn't work for me. And so I know the things that do work for me are things like exercise and moving my body. So it's the same with kids. We have to kind of figure out what works for them and what doesn't. So I keep a lot of stuff in the calm down area. But I also know that they kind of have their go-tos. You know, I mentioned my oldest son likes to do things tactile. So Legos for him are a big one. The putty and the sensory tools are big ones. Whereas my middle is a drawer. She's a thinker. She is much more internal. So she will just sometimes sit. She just wants to be. And so it's important to help them to kind of figure out, like, what those things are that work for them, that's going to serve them well throughout their entire lives.
Yes, you're loading their toolboxes.
Right. And recognize that some things aren't going to work well, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about that all the time at my house, like I just mentioned. Like, please don't ask me to, draw or journal. Like those don't feel calming to me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And they know that everybody has different things, and they can change too. So
Yeah.
loading it up with all of those things, so that they have options to choose from, is going to be really important too.
Do you have a calm corner for each child, or is it just one for, okay. Cause I was even thinking like, I wonder if it would be kind of cool to develop a calm corner in each one of their rooms and
Right.
let them pick out the things that
Right.
I always try and give them, I always want to empower them and let
Yes.
them choose things. And like you said, like every child is different in the way that they cope. And so I'm just thinking, because we don't have any calm corners in our house, but when I saw this, I was like, that's brilliant. Having them create something in their room, in their little safe space, because my son is the same way. Like, he will recognize it and he needs space. And so he will just leave and he'll go up in his room, and sometimes it's like 6:30 and he just puts himself to bed. He's like, it's just too much for me and I'm done. But
And
maybe,
that's a great idea.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
so just having something in his room.
yeah, for us, we are limited by space because we had this brilliant idea a few years ago to intentionally downsize, which now during a global pandemic seems like the worst possible idea we could have ever had. And so we are so we don't have a lot of space at all. So our kids, in their playroom, they kind of have one space, which works out well for us because a lot of the tools that I would probably put in there anyways are within arm's reach for them. But absolutely, having more than one would be amazing. Books are a great idea also to put in.
I saw the tapping book in your picture.
Yes, yes, I do. I have several. And, we are big about using our library too. And so, a lot of these will get rotated in and out. But there are so many meditation books. This is the one that we were just talking about.
Yep.
My
favorite
book.
for kids.
My kids love this one. Yeah. It explains it so well.
It does.
But we have, lots of, sorry, when you can see it, I can't see anything. We have lots of meditation, same kind of deal.
Oh, I
here.
just posted a post yesterday. I was at Target and there was like an end cap full of meditation books. And I was like, this is brilliant. I got there's a gratitude journal, and I'll post it in the comments for people that are watching this, but it was like one that you do with your child. And so it goes back and forth, and it's like, what are you thankful for? And it gives prompts throughout. And I was like, well, me and my daughter constantly, we either read books or we do like she likes to draw and stuff. And so we do stuff together. I'm like, this is perfect. And it's very interactive. Yeah. And mom told me a story. I'm like, and this is something I could keep. And I have like a little treasure chest of like stuff that we've done together. Yeah. But I love like those types of books that are really helpful.
Oh yeah. And I will say Target is really great about those types of books. Yeah. I regularly walk through their section and take pictures of books to save them for later, so I remember them. They tend to have a lot of really great like mindfulness titles. So yeah, and another good idea. Like,
it was labeled wellness, and it had all of them underneath. Yeah.
Yes. We have a lot of kids yoga books. My middle daughter in particular loves yoga. So we'll keep these. And like some of these are great because they can literally just open it up and like, oh, there's okay, I'll try that one. She really likes that. My son, not so much. So again, it just depends on what works for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything I forgot about. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I would love for you just to kind of give some background on how we connected, and maybe we can post, your blog that you had written too, and how you use tapping, and then also how you use it with your kids. Because I think just having the more that we talk about this and more we share the way that we use it with our kids, it just gives people ideas then too.
Yeah, absolutely. So Casey and I met through an Indianapolis moms Facebook group.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, I
I'm
do.
like, I hope you remember, because I don't. Was it Any Mompreneurs? Was it that one?
It was.
Oh,
It
okay.
was.
I love that one.
Yes, it was. And I think you were just looking for some people to try it out.
Oh yeah. That's what it was.
And to write about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my business was fairly new. I'm trying to think if when we met, if it had really even gotten off the ground or not.
I don't think it had.
It might not have, yeah. And so I knew about tapping from my work as a teacher and school principal. One of my teachers I think she had brought it to me and was like, have you ever heard of it? I hadn't. She had taken a class or something, I don't even remember, and brought me a bunch of resources and, basically said, like, I think this really goes along with this whole thing that we're trying to do, building a trauma-informed school. And I want to try to use it with some of my kids, some of her students. And so she did. And, I think as I was reading and learning about it, I was thinking about it more from a parent lens, because at that time we were just really struggling with one of my kids and a lot of anxiety. And so I don't even know that I was looking at it through an educator's lens. I was like, oh, this seems like something that could be really, really helpful to me at home, with my child. And so I just started reading about it and, the different apps that are out there, looking at those. We did purchase several copies of the Gorilla Thumbs book at school. So that is how I learned about the book. So when you had posted, I thought, oh, this would be a great experience to try it out with somebody who actually knows something about it.
Well, different than reading a book about it, isn't it?
Unlike me, who I'm just like Googling stuff and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great.
Well, that's why I created that resource list. I don't know if I ever sent that to you, but you can just Google away and you can find all types of YouTube videos of everyone, anyone can post anything.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but is it credible? Is it the real research? Not fake news. Right. And so I was like, I need a whole, and so I spent a lot of time breaking it down, and these are the people to follow, and these are the books that you want to read, and that, because you can get lost in the scavenger hunt of the Googling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And those, I actually just went back to that resource list a week or two ago, and I was reading something. I don't remember which, it was an article, I think, maybe. But yeah, so that was a really great experience for me, especially at that time, just a lot of stress in my life personally going on. And that was probably almost a year ago at this point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It feels like 10 years ago. I think with all the COVID stuff, it's like we're in some type of a time warp where it's like, was that yesterday or 20 years ago? I don't really know.
I think it might have been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But that was such a great experience for me. So when you posted, I was like, yes, I would love to experience this, because I know about it. I've read about it. I've pseudo kind of done some of it with my kids at home. But I learned so much more, and then I wrote about it on my blog. And since I've shared when I go around and train schools, there is one section where we're talking about mindfulness and de-escalation and things like that. And I mention it, and I always say hey, I'm not the expert on this, but if you want to know more, I can connect you, I can get you some resources. And it's funny because so many educators are kind of in that same boat where they're like, well, I've heard about it, I'd really like to know more. And I'm like, well,
I think a lot of people right now are starting to pick up steam, just because anxiety is on the rise, and it's such a simple tool, for people to have in their toolbox. So I think that it is going to become increasingly popular, and more people are going to be like, oh, I've heard about that before, rather than when I started out 6 years ago and everyone's like, what the heck is that?
I know. And I will say, I'll put an asterisk by it almost when we're talking about it. I know some of you probably think this sounds out there, but I will tell you, I use it with my kids. I have a very like baseline knowledge level of it. I can kind of, tell you what it's about. But if you want to know more, you really need to dive in and research and whatnot. But I agree. I think the response that I expect to get a lot of times from educators is not the response that I get. So that's good. That, yes, it must mean that like it's picking up some, steam as far as.
And people are just desperate. They're like, I don't care. Like, sure, I'll tap my face. Like, does it make me feel better? Okay, I'll do that. Like, I don't care right now. Give me all the things.
That's true. I mean, a lot of us are at that point too.
Yeah.
So I've been using it with one of my kids for a while now, a few years. And when I say use it, I mean like I said, we have a pretty baseline knowledge. I've since explained to my kids, why we do it, so that we're not just doing this random thing. Like, okay, mom's asking us to like tap on her head again. Yeah. She's a little crazy. So they understand. And I think my kids have a fairly good understanding of the mind-body connection too, just because of what I do. I try out a lot of things on them first.
Oh, same.
I'm doing a mindfulness workshop, so let's try some of these things so that I can talk about them. They're like, oh, not again.
Yep. They're like, no more workshops.
Right. We did some yoga this morning. I was like, but I need pictures for something, so we're going to do some yoga.
Yeah, poor little guinea pigs. Mine are the same way.
So, I will say at this point, we probably use it the most at night for sleeping. Mm-hmm. My oldest really likes to use it to help him fall asleep. Mm-hmm. But we also, we will occasionally, I would say probably less so use it when like somebody's really escalated. We have had times though where we're all just like bonkers for whatever reason. I'm like, everybody sit down, like in a circle, even my 3-year-old, and he'll do it with us. And he has obviously no idea what's going on, but he's like, all right, this sounds fun. I get to sit with everybody and like participate in this thing. And I'm like, all right, everybody is mad at each other right now, so we're all going to calm our bodies down by doing this.
Nice. Some group tapping. I like it.
Yes. And we'll sit usually like at the landing of the stairs. I don't know why. Maybe because they're always like in the playroom getting mad at each other, and that's right outside the door. So it's like everybody out here.
Quick exit.
So yeah, but yes, we use it at night. I think the nice thing too for my oldest is he's old enough to understand how it works. He knows the points to tap on. And I think one thing he likes is that he can do this at school and it's not like super noticeable, and we've talked like, obviously you're not going to like sit there and repeat things out loud, but like if, excuse me, if you need to sit and like go through the actual tapping and thinking in your head, whatever it is that you would say out loud, that's fine. And nobody really notices. And that's a big deal for a kid in 4th grade, so right. It's a great way for him to self-regulate in a way that's not super noticeable to other kids.
Yeah, that's huge.
In 4th grade.
Yeah, and I used to work a lot with teenagers and like just discreet ways to kind of, sneak it in. It doesn't even have to be tapping. You can literally just like stimulate the points by, just pressing into them, because whether you tap on them, that's EFT. If you put a needle in them, it's acupuncture. And then if you just press into it, it's acupressure. But all of those ways are ways to stimulate that meridian point.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, I think we've seen a lot of, we've seen it work, especially at bedtime. Like I mentioned, my oldest really has a hard time falling asleep at night, and we've done, melatonin, and we've done these different things. And we got to the point where, his pediatrician wanted a sleep study and all of this, and that's fine if we need to get to that point. But I was like, I'm not totally convinced that we need to. And so we just, changed some things about how we were doing our bedtime routine. We started doing this. And if nothing else, I think for him, it's a great way for him to calm his body, which is I think the part that he struggles with in order to get to sleep. He's just very go, go, go and high anxiety. And he's like me, where I lay in bed and I have, I think about 600 things in my head, and it's like, no, you have to turn it off. But explaining that and getting a 9-year-old to do that is not easy. It's not easy for us to do.
No. Yeah. And yeah, that's important for him to recognize that and then give him a tool too. That's huge.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'd love for you to, since we did kind of cut out the first part, I didn't get to record that. I'm going to post your background too in the top. And also if you have any websites or social media or things like that. And then if you could post in the comments just about the little fidgets and stuff that you'd recommend. And then I'll go down the rabbit hole of Amazon and add cart. Was it going to be here before Christmas? Add cart.
That's right. If they can't get here before Christmas, they don't make the list anymore.
No, it's not going to make the list anymore. And we're kind of getting to that point now. It's like crunch time. I was like, some of this stuff, I'm like, dang, it's not going to, I'm already late.
Right.
It's gone.
I know.
If you could post that blog too in the comments, that would be cool as well. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and for showing up for these mamas today. And God bless us all.
If nothing else, just make the calm down space so you have a place.
I'm going to make my own calm corner. I mean, it's going to have probably a bottle of wine. I'm not going to lie. It'll probably have some fun stuff in there. All of it. It's going to all be there. Just a big pile of calming stuff for mom.
It gets my stamp of approval.
Okay. I appreciate that. All right, my dear. Well, thank you. And you have a wonderful day. And a Merry Christmas too.
Same to you.
All right. Bye.
Right. Bye.